This is another lovely Tunisian crochet stitch, and this is the weave stitch. It is composed of alternate Tunisian simple stitches and Tunisian slip stitches purled. It requires an even number of stitches and is a 2-row repeat. So for this swatch I have chained 12 and have 12 loops on the hook. I'm just doing the return pass to complete the Tunisian crochet foundation row, and the link to the video about how to do that is above. I now have one loop on the hook, and this is the first stitch, so I skip the first vertical bar and move to the second vertical bar. And for this I'm going to do a purled slip stitch, so grab the yarn, push it forward with the hook, then insert the hook through the or behind the vertical bar, and then rotate the hook so that the yarn is behind it. Then push the hook through the next stitch, that's the third stitch, and bring up a loop. This is a Tunisian simple stitch. Next is a purled slip stitch. Bring the yarn forward with the hook, push the hook behind the front vertical bar, rotate the hook so that the yarn is behind it. The next stitch is a simple stitch. Now for another slip stitch, purled. Bring the yarn forward with the hook, push the hook behind the next front vertical bar, move the yarn behind the hook, then do a simple stitch for the next stitch. Then the next one is of course a purled slip stitch. Bring the yarn forward, push the hook under the or behind the vertical bar, then a Tunisian simple stitch, and now for a purled slip stitch. Bring the yarn forward, push it behind the vertical bar, move the hook in front of the yarn, and the next stitch is a simple stitch. And now push the hook in the space marked by the marker with the 2 vertical bars on the left and 1 vertical bar on the other side of the space. Yarn over and pull up a loop, and there will be 12 loops on the hook for this swatch. And now do a normal Tunisian return pass, chain 1. As always, I like to mark the space for the end of the next forward pass. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops all along until there is just 1 loop left on the hook. The loop on the hook is the first stitch of the second forward pass. The second stitch now will be a simple stitch because the underlying stitch is a slip stitch purled. The next stitch will be a slip stitch purled because the stitch I'm working into is a simple stitch. The next stitch will be a simple stitch, and so on until you reach the end of the row. So each purled slip stitch will have a simple stitch on either side of it and above and below it, and each simple stitch will have a purled slip stitch on either side and above and below it. The penultimate stitch, i.e. the 11th stitch on the second row, will be a purled slip stitch. Push the hook with the yarn behind it into the marked space at the end of the row. Bring up a loop, and there will be 12 loops on the hook. chain one and then a normal Tunisian return pass. And just keep going until the fabric is of the required size. And this is the final return pass for the swatch of this weave stitch. And weave stitch is a really good descriptive term for this stitch because of its woven appearance. Incidentally, this looks great with two colours as well.